Thank you. Hey, good evening, afternoon. I'll call to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Is there any public input as the meeting is open to statements from no more than 5 members of the public or no more than 2 minutes in length?
Oh, good evening. Good to see you. I haven't been up here in a while, so this is exciting. My name is Jonas. I'm with the Lillooet Chamber of Commerce, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to receive my letter for this agenda. Otherwise, next one I'm sure will follow up. But my board is currently discussing the budget, and we're hoping that you guys are all discussing, and we're hoping to have some comment back to you guys before your next meeting as well. But this is an issue. I wanted to raise something really quick that has come up to us a couple times now, and I figured now's a good time to bring it up as it is on today's agenda anyways, which is around sort of rec center rental rates. And it's something that we've discussed for a while, and a couple of people have come to me about this, which is sort of discussing a little bit of the logic behind some of the rec center rental rates and really looking at the utilization rate of the rec center. So I sent a little letter that's just discussing the fact that there's some people that are uncomfortable with the fact that I've heard about some of our nonprofits and businesses about the fact that they feel the rec center is currently a little underutilized. And one of the reasons for that is because the fees are quite high, and there's no distinction in the differences of the fees. So, for example, residents of Lillooet pay the same thing as non-residents of Lillooet, as well as for-profit companies currently pay the same rates as non-for-profit companies. And so we were hoping to just raise this issue with all of you guys for discussion, to maybe look into or study this idea that we look at the rec center rental rates and bifurcate them a little bit between nonprofits, for-profit entities, as well as residents and non-residences, to increase the utilization of the rec center. There's a couple of our members that have said that they would rent the rec center, the gymnasium, this meeting room, if it was more affordable, but they feel like with the recent increases in the rates, as well as just generally, the realities of being a nonprofit, it is quite difficult to afford that. Just as an example, for our event, our upcoming gala on April 12th, we're paying over $1,000 to the rec center for the rental, which, if you're a small nonprofit, it's very difficult to afford. And in our case, we were able to do that, but it's just something to think about. And what I say in my letter here is that as a chamber, we don't take a position on what the rate should be, but I think it's a worthwhile discussion for all of you guys to have to figure out if there's a way to give our nonprofit community a break, or to look at differences between residents and non-residents in the rental fees. That's all I had today.
Okay, thank you. I can address a few of those. It's hard to have a building of this caliber without having fees and charging. It's really a catch-22. We need to have money, otherwise the taxes go up. And if we don't have that income, then, it's really quite challenging. For the non-resident part, that would be mostly Area B, Texas Creek and surrounding areas that use the rec center on a regular basis. And, Area B, surrounding area outside the district boundaries, but within the Northern Statland, they represent parcels of land that are not in reserves, right? Like Texas Creek. But Area B, Director Vivian Brooks-Jones makes ongoing donations to the District of Lillooet. And just to name a few, the solar panels on the roof of the rec center over the swimming pool. They give a lot of support to the library and to the hub, which are, nonprofits, Lillooet Agriculture and Food Group. So other communities share the expenses. So just at the SLRD last month, Area D and Squamish go part and parcel for those Lillooet, or for the agriculture. However, Area B has covered all those costs relating to those costs. which is over $30,000 every year, and the district has not. They've done the bat houses, they were installed, they maintained on the old bridge, a drone last year for search and rescue. And a couple of months ago in January, there was Area B supplied the $15,000 for the rec center grant towards Conway Park. So and those are just a few of the contributions. So all of those contributions from Area B to the district, they alleviate the tax burden from the residents. And those things enhance our community and our infrastructure. And in my roundtable, I tend to always remember to thank Ms. Birch Jones and the Area B residents for their donations. And that's not only to thank them, but to also inform our residents that non-residents are contributing to this rec center and to other entities within the community. So I hope that people do understand that, but I also understand that if they're not coming to the council meetings, they don't hear it and therefore don't know. But for the rest of the rates, I'm going to ask our CAO, Mr. McCullough, to weigh in on this.
Yeah, thanks to the chair. I don't know, Ben, do you want to step in this one as well before I do?
Yeah, I can. I'll just make a couple of comments if I can to your Mayor Hoppel. The question of profit versus nonprofit rates for rentals at the rec center is just one thing to keep in mind when we're having this discussion. At this point, most of the rentals, large rentals for events in the gymnasium, for instance, and on the lawn, are from nonprofits. Most of the Indigenous organizations all would be considered nonprofit, tribal council, friendship center, et cetera, et cetera. So probably the majority of our rentals are actually from nonprofits already. So I'm not too sure when you start doing the math, the utility of creating a nonprofit versus a profit rate. I'm not too sure what that would look like. The whole question of resident fees versus non-resident fees is really fraught, a very difficult question, and it's something that needs to be very closely examined from a staff point of view. When you start having to decide, designate who's a resident of Lillooet, who's not a resident of Lillooet, charge them a different fee. Every person that comes into the building, we have to be able to determine where they live. So we need software. There's a lot of expense that's involved in this, and it's in other communities. I did quite a bit of research into this in 2017, and in other communities where this has been done, there was a great deal of controversy, and the expense that it takes to implement it and to monitor it ongoing is inevitably far more than you bring in additional fees. So it's a difficult problem.
Thank you.
I just asked Mike one question. In the fees, like we already have 3 tiers of fees anyway. We've got regular by the looks of this, we have subsidized, and then we have commercial fees. So what's the criteria for subsidized?
Subsidized is generally what the subsidized rate is for kids' activities. Minor hockey gets the soccer association would get subsidized rates. Minor hockey would get subsidized rates. So any organization that is providing recreational stuff for kids.
So we already have some tiers anyway.
There are some
rates.
Where's that team?
Thank you.
Thank you through there. There's a couple of things, and I'm a little bit kind of confused because the last couple of times Johannes come in talking to us about our taxis and what we're doing with the taxis and what we're doing with the tax money. If we're not looking at what we're doing with the fees and we're giving subsidies, we're giving more rates to that, it's going to increase taxes significantly. So I kind of a little bit confused on how to kind of look at that. The rec centre is certainly not free to run. It's an expensive building to run, and there's definitely no evidence that shows that lower rates would guarantee or be able to agree on higher usage rates or a higher revenue. So there's no correlation there from what Baden's actually had a look at. For what we've actually seen through the research, that the non-residents versus residents, again, it's very difficult to try and monitor. If I can, I know it's not a question and answer period, but I'm kind of curious to know if the Chamber Board approved this, to kind of look at this, to bring this forward. I'm kind of curious to know if this is a Chamber Board initiative, if it was asked formally by the Chamber Board to come here and present this to council. And I want to know, I'm interested, curious to know why the Chamber are fielding questions on the recreation centre rates and fees, and why that's not been passed back to staff to be able to address and to deal with. This is a district owned building and operated, and if there's questions and queries out there from organisers, from individuals, or from people or groups, then they should be get sent our way so that we can address that, so we can have those discussions, so that we can actually look at what those needs are for the organisations and for those groups. Because we are willing and flexible to maybe address these things. And I think we're quite creative. I think the vein shown over the last year since I've been here, certainly, we've looked at a number of different things to try and be fairly flexible on these things. So yeah, I'm curious to know why these individuals were passed over to us to be able to address these things. I'm curious to know whether or not this is a board initiative and whether or not the board approved this letter to come here. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, happy to. So absolutely, I think I always speak with my board's approval, and that's something when I come out here, that's very important. So these things are absolutely discussed with my board. I think the reason we brought this up now is because rec center fees are on the agenda tonight, and I think it's a worthwhile discussion to have, just to hear some of these arguments, because I think the public does not usually tend to hear these arguments. And so I think being able to have this discussion, there are, I think, organizations out there, for-profit, not-for-profit. We heard non-for-profits are a big part of the rec center that do feel that are frustrated over the level of fees. And understanding that, of course, building has to run, and of course, taxes also subsidize that. But I think that's where the discussion comes in, over what's the appropriate level. And does utilization play into that? I think it is correct that there's no evidence that lower fees will increase utilization, but there's also I would say that I would put forward the argument that higher fees lower utilization. So it's just something to consider. This is not to make an argument. This is not to force something onto council. It's simply to bring this up as we're discussing rec center fees anyways, for a healthy public discussion on this topic.
Thank you, through the chair. So just for clarification, the Chamber Board knew about this letter and asked you to present on the fees.
I would say that my discussions with my board are between me and my board, but yes, this is something that was discussed with the board.
Okay, thank you.
Just before we close that topic, would you care to actually go over the pool? Because that was a good, I didn't know how much it costs to run the pool per hour.
I can do that.
I would
So I
appreciate
mean,
that.
maybe I'm wrong here, Bain, to jump in with me. Is it $65 an hour to heat a pool? Later rounds, me and Paul were talking about it last week. So I think if we're looking at the range of $65 an hour to typically run a pool, you're looking at 10 people saying $6.50 an hour for them to be in it. Most times in a pool we're not that kind of ton of revenue, just as an example. It's a good kind of indication of how many people we try and get through the doors. So that we're kind of looking at that. But that's why now, with the district, after Johnny's survey that we put out, we've very clearly seen that the need for regulation in the town is there. That's why we're starting to look into options for, and I'll see it publicly now, we're looking at options for 24-hour access for the gym membership. We're looking at options for upgrades to the rec centre and the gymnasium and the weight room. We're looking at the potential removal of the weight of the structural wall, the climbing wall that's not utilised to the full extent. And we want to try and move more gym equipment in there to utilise that through space improvement after NDIT and Reddit camps and all that, to try and use that, because we do want to make sure that this full building is utilised as much as possible. And we're not seeing the utilisation. I don't deny that. And we do need to look at other things, but those other things don't necessarily come at a lower rate. It comes through us working with BC Hydro, it comes to us working with TDR Health, and us working with wildfire groups, with non-profits and with paid users as well. Because if we don't, we have a very expensive building, then the subsidies come from portion taxes.
There you go. So get more people in using the building and then the fees will. So, okay, let's move on. Is there any late items or deletion?
There is one item of new business, which is a making fee, and if anyone, there's extra copies up there as well. Which is about the appointment of a deputy chief election officer, and that'll be discussed under new business, section 17.1. I just realized there's section 11 is also new business, but we're gonna just.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, will somebody please move that the March 18th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as amended? Councillor Plan, Councillor Reeve, all in favor? Carried. And there's no public or statutory hearings or delegations. So before we move the consent agenda, does anyone wish to remove one or more of the 7 correspondence items under 7.1 of the agenda? Please raise your hand. Council Plan?
I just want to move the arts Lillooet.
That letter. Which one? 7.17.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
That 8.1, I just want to hear a bit more on it.
Okay, we'll move on to 8.1. Is there any of these ones? 7.1 to 7.7? Okay. All right, will somebody please move that item number 7.1.7 be removed from the consent agenda for discussion under new business, and that the remainder of the consent agenda be approved? Councillor Reed, Councillor McGarry, all in favor? Carried. Okay, 8.1, request to send a letter to Premier Eby asking for hard drugs decriminalization legislation to be repealed.
I would like to send a letter helping them out.
Comments? I agree. Generate that. Okay, will somebody please move that the District of Lillooet send a letter to Premier Eby asking for the legislation on hard drugs decriminalization to be repealed? Councillor McMary, Councillor Reed, all in favor? Carried. Okay, 8.2, request from MLA Lutt for topics to be brought to question period in the BC legislature. Any comments, questions?
We've, through there, we've actually already responded to a number of different issues, specifically archaeological finds, assistance with provincial and federal funding for archaeological finds, especially around emergencies and our utilities. And we also brought forward some suggestions on healthcare providing doctors and municipalities and the effects. So we're bringing a couple of things forward for discuss.
Okay, so we've already sent.
I've already responded just in kind, just directly to them, but if there's more items that we wish to add to that list, we'll talk to you.
That's great.
Through the mayor. I'd maybe like to add that it include repeat offenders. I don't think they get enough sentencing to start with, and then they're out, and then they're doing the same thing over and over and over again, because they know it's no penalties.
For penalties. Okay. Back to the list. Okay, so somebody please move the staff prepare a letter in response to MLA Tony Luck's request for items to address during question period with the following feedback, which has already been stated by CAO, and to add Councillor Reed's recommendations about the repeat offenders. Councillor Eric, Councillor Reed, on favor. Staff reports. Okay, 10.1, recreation services and facility rental. 29.
through the mayor, there's been no, excuse me, no changes to the bylaw since the last the last meeting. Council gave it 3 readings at, the previous regular council meeting, so we're just suggesting that council adopt, the changes to the fees and charges.
Okay, is there any questions or comments? Councillor Khan?
For adopting, I am wondering if I could ask council that we could maybe make one change that is lowering the senior age from 65 to 60. Many people in their early 60s have actually already retired, or a lot of people are on fixed income. The economy really is not favoring seniors too well right now. It would also, not that it really matters, but it would align us more with other BC municipality rec centers as well. We do have senior rated starting at age 60.
Comments? I personally want to leave it at 65 because I think that's the senior rate. The age is 65.
But
Okay,
I feel the same way as you.
65.
Yeah. They still got lots left in their 60s. You should have millions.
Councillor Wade, not that you're over 60 or anything. What's your like to? Would like to weigh in on
I'm on
this?
the other side. I was just thinking, I think it feels it's 55, so.
That's true. That's true. It is. I don't know. I just think that. So you're gonna make the motion to share the seconder.
So, sorry, through the mayor, if we're going to change the fees and charges, we would have to rescind 3rd reading.
Right.
Make the changes, do 3rd reading again, and it'll come to the next meeting for adoption. I'm not getting a feeling that there would be a consensus on the change. So I would suggest that council just move the resolution that's on the agenda.
Sorry, Councillor Platt.
Yeah.
Good try though.
Yeah.
Okay, will somebody please move that the District of Lillooet fees and charges bylaw number 2021-003, amending bylaw number 7, bylaw number 2025-017 be adopted. Councillor McNary, Councillor Reed, all in favor? Carried. Opposed? Okay. Okay, and, I thought I'd ask the question just in case. So we're not going with this new business or unfinished business. Is there any notes that motion? Seeing none, okay. Report from the mayor, okay. SLRD, Lillooet Learning Community Society will receive $30,000 in Area B payment in lieu of taxes. Funds for operational expenses. A letter will be sent to the Ministry of Transportation and Transit supporting the improvement of highway shoulders in the Lillooet area for safer cycling and pedestrian walkways, and that's on all of our highways. SLRD finances for Lillooet, they haven't been approved, but so I can't really say too much yet, but again, Area B took on more of that share in order not to add to the district's tax increase. So we really appreciate that. And I'll give the final number of what is going up at SLRD when it's approved at SLRD. Today I met with the auditor. It was the annual meeting with the auditor and I have to just go over the protocols in place and the checks and balances before they present it to council, which will be mid-April. I asked for a deal since it's so easy with our finance officer over there. She does such a great job. I thought we should get a deal on it, right? But evidently he said that we already got a good rate. A further reduced rate was not on the table, so. Anyways, he will be coming to council next month.
The trend.
Yeah, nice try, right? And that is it.
Me, just the, Maybe the whole budget meeting. That's it.
Same event.
I missed that actual meeting. I did watch it on YouTube, and you guys did a great job. I think it was on the 11th of this month, I tuned into the webinar about tariffs. It was basically all morning. People had to take out time, of course, giving their speeches and things. And there were quite a few questions that I never even, just from other communities that you just don't even think of. So apparently it was supposed to be for mayors. But I was there anyway. And one of the questions that came up was, why were the area directors not invited to this conversation? The question, they didn't have an answer, other than they just wanted to keep it, to a minimum, whatever. But a lot of the discussion was more around procurement and whatnot, and getting the areas in line with, I know we're a district, but not everybody is, but, getting it in line with the municipal on the way things are done from the areas. And a couple of the things just to stick in everybody's mind, our fire truck, because that came up, but a lot of people, you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and if those tariffs go on, it's going to affect the purchase of our fire truck in a big way, maybe. I don't know, maybe staff has done something wonderful. And they also about the putting tolls on the Alaska Highway. A lot of the smaller towns along the way are going to suffer for that. They've already lost their mills and their wood and all of this. So that's a big thing that we're also looking at. There's another one, and for some reason it slips my mind. So it was really interesting, and I'm hoping that they're going to have another one when they come up with some kind of decision on. Can't say what I really want to say. On the person in the United States.
That's right, that answers the question. Well, thank you, that's interesting.
And through the mayor, just for Councillor Weed's information, you probably missed it. Corey, the acting fire chief, did contact the vendor for the fire truck. All of the major components are already here, so we should be okay on that.
I think, in response, I think it was in reference to anything that has been previously tried to purchase that we're on wait for,
Yes.
is all gonna come down and load onto the communities that with purchasing policies and whatnot. But that's nice to hear about our fire truck.
So through the mayor, another big part of this is in Alberta and BC, actually, in most provinces in Canada, we're actually able to use canoe purchasing. And canoe purchasing allows us, doesn't circumnavigate the process for purchasing, but what it allows us to do as municipalities is a purchasing option. So if we had to buy, for example, a new backhoe, then we don't need to do 3 separate tenders. We can go through purchasing and through Canoe, and Canoe pulls all of their purchasing power together and basically purchases for municipalities for certain items. So for like certain safety equipment, different pipes, lots of weird work, a lot of actually administration stuff, papers and things. It allows us to actually go directly to Canoe and purchase directly from them. They are putting on some quite significant seminars because their purchasing policy, when I was in Alberta, we were working with them in 1 year. We spent, I think it was $20 million in 1 year on equipment, and that was one municipality. So their purchasing leverage, should we say, is all of the municipalities are purchasing Caterpillars and all these other big pieces of equipment from all over the world, a lot from America. Then because of that, and a lot from Mexico. So because of that, we very much in the discussions with the tariffs and the trade stuff is it's very like, what do we see changing for us as a municipality, large purchasing? The main ones are fire truck, but it's already here and it's being built. So chassis here, bodies here, engines here. It's already well in place, but it's a good reminder of how quick these things can affect us.
I just remembered.
Sort of, it's,
Counselor Reid?
I just remembered my thought there. They also said to take into consideration buying Canadian is great, but if it's an American company that's based in Canada and you stop going there or stop purchasing from them or whatever, there's gonna be a lot of people that live in Canada laid off looking for jobs. And it was more informative as to stop and think. Don't just say, oh, it's US, I'm not doing it, because it will come back and bite us. It'll be interesting to see what happens down the road.
Counselor McNair?
what, through the mayor, what, Joe was talking about seems like kind of a co-op for the municipalities.
That's exactly.
Is there a membership fee for that or anything, or is that, no?
No.
Sorry, through the mayor, we pay a membership fee to Civic Info BC, who sort of oversees the program, so indirectly, but we were already paying it anyways.
Point of information, we bought our garbage cans through the new procedure process.
Last year's.
Yeah.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, I'll turn it over to CAO for his report.
Thank you, through the mayor. So we've not got a physical report ahead of us, because we do that second meeting of the month, first meeting of the month, sorry. The last one, obviously, we had a small presentation. What we're looking to try and bring forward just now is we're looking at the potential sale or removal of the climbing wall. So that's going to be getting moved forward into and onto our website really shortly. Again, looking at what we're utilising for what we have as space in here. We're seeing 2 or 3 people using that a month, or lucky sometimes, which is not the best utilised space. It's one of the largest areas that we have here. And for that to see such little use, we really need to look at the feasibility and what we're doing in that space. This week alone, we've had some very exciting meetings with new recreation managers. Sorry, Ben, unless you want to stay. Not after today's meeting. We are having some very exciting meetings with a couple of forerunners for a new recreation manager, which I'm very excited about. Christina and I will be completing a couple this week. We have 2 very strong candidates. I'm very happy to say that that's very positive for us to get all of our positions filled. We have a new recreation program coordinator starting next month, who's going to be looking specifically at what we're doing recreational programming wise, working with Andrea to actually support we're doing programs. Unfortunately, the pool is closed just now because of ongoing maintenance and the fact we've struggled to try and retain swimming instructor or swimming lifeguards. But we're hoping to be able to try and get that moving, and it is a priority for us to address. So we are looking at that moving forward. And we're working through budget, and Johnny's dealing with audit, and no one should talk to Johnny.
Okay, we'll move on to new business 17.1, the parks.
I only wanted to bring this up. I think it is a wonderful program here, and they have asked for more support, but I just wanted to point out that, as we know, the district follows the community grant and the council correspondence policies. And we do direct anybody who is asking for extra help and programs to apply to the Lillooet Community Fund. Arts Lillooet did apply to the Lillooet Community Fund in October and did receive the full allotment of $1,000. So they cannot apply again in spring for this same project because they have already received an allotment from us. So I just wanted to explain why we would not be able to support this letter, even though it is a good thing as they have already received funding from the district via the Lillooet Community Fund.
Thank you for the clarification. You want me to receive that?
Yes, please.
Okay, please proceed. Councilor McCarry, all in favor? Okay, public clarification period. Questions from the public?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, right. Right, I knew it. I'm sitting here. 17.2.
The Mayor, I appreciate the opportunity to bring forward a late item. As you know, we have appointed Nate Moyer as the appointed election officer. In further discussion with municipal affairs, we're probably doing development races with this a little bit. We're being a little bit overly cautious. But we would also like to make sure that we have council appoint a deputy election officer and the off chance that something else, maybe it makes not here, if there's something else, we don't want to have to come back and revisit this on a number of occasions. We did look for a couple of points of clarification through municipal affairs on whether or not this was completely necessary. We're waiting for them to get back on us to actually firm that off, and on the off chance, we just thought we would be a little bit of double protection on this and make sure we're open with it. So Paula Price was and has previously worked in provincial elections, a lot of experience with it. We feel very comfortable with her and in position, and so we want to bring that forward and ask for council to formally appoint Paula Price as the deputy election officer in the upcoming 2025.
Right, thank you. My apologies for missing that one. Councilor McNary?
What's our expense gonna be for this and for how long?
Through the mayor, so we have as part of our budget this year, $30,000 for the election. This would be within that budget. Typically, because she is a district employee currently as well, she does get a small stipend on top for the work that she has to do outside of office hours. But again, that will all fit within the budget for the by-election, so there's no additional cost.
Thank you.
No, you're fine.
Through the mayor, that was my question, if it was going to affect the budget.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, will somebody please move that council appoint Paula Price as the deputy elections officer for the upcoming 2025 by-election in accordance with local government. Councilor Klan, Councilor Reed, all in favor? Carried. Good. And I'll move on to questions from the public. Anything? No.
Thank you. So Vivian Birch Jones, citizen from East Lillooet and Area B representative, and I have a couple things. First of all, with the Naturalist Society hat on, but also Area B and citizen here, I am very happy about the support for active transportation and trying to do something to create more safe walking routes here in our town on using our highways. I think it's great. Now, to work with MOTI on that, it's an optimistic plan, but it's a good one. Also, because with Area B, the agriculture is so important, and that coupon program, it's made a huge difference here for the farmers market, but for the farmers. Like, it really has had a positive impact. So I am very glad that you sent that letter off to the Minister of Agriculture. And I'm wondering, I don't think the SLRD has done that, and we should. And what was the other thing? Just to say, thank you for your kind words for the Area B contribution, but it's quite, I mean, Area B as far as I'm concerned, Lillooet is in Area B. You have the infrastructure. And so I have never had a taxpayer from Area B complain about supporting things like the rec center and the hub and so forth. Like, that kind of is our infrastructure. And I mean, I think you guys are doing a great job. I really appreciate it. And so I'm happy to work and contribute from the Area B corner. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bruce. Right. No more questions. Will somebody please move that regular council meeting be adjourned? Counselor Nick Derry, Counselor Platt, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Good. I believe I forgot.
30 minutes.
Yeah, nope.